Be a social media manager in this economy? Hey, crew. Does anyone else feel like the economy is doing a whole lot worse than anyone is talking about? All I hear is how many jobs have been created and that our country is thriving. But what I'm seeing is way different. Friends are being laid off from jobs, businesses are closing down at an alarming rate, and there are less and less folks wanting to pay for services like social media management. Hey crew, my name is Dakota Jeane, and this is the Social Media Manager podcast. I started my career as a fashion intern in New York City, working my way up to retail and brand director for Nicole Miller. I was recruited by the Kardashians at the ripe age of 24 as a director of the Dash brand. What I quickly realized was that we needed to do some serious marketing to be successful. At a time when almost no brands were on social media, I got the Dash stores up and running and grew the Instagram account up 58% to 1.2 million followers by creating a brand guide and a social media strategy. Flash forward, I started the Social Media Manager in 2021 to help social media managers navigate this crazy field we decided to be in and to help business owners like myself find success in marketing through social media. So who's ready to figure out this whole social media thing? Let's go. It's great to be back in the swing of the podcast. For those of you who have been listening since the beginning, you've likely realized I haven't released a podcast episode in quite a long time. And it's mostly because I didn't have the time. Why didn't I have the time? Well, that's what this podcast episode is all about. My rise and my fall, all within a year. This episode, by the way, is brought to you by Vista Social. Vista Social is a social media management platform that I use to schedule all of my posts and all of my clients' posts. Not only is it super user-friendly, it has everything you could possibly need to be successful on social media while maintaining a work-life balance. There's scheduling. You can schedule Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok videos. You can even schedule Reddit posts. Plus, you can create tasks, which keeps your crew on top of everything. There's detailed reporting for all the platforms in one area, so you can track your success and provide reports to your superiors or to your clients. Plus, you can respond to all comments and messages all on this one platform. I've been using Vista Social for the last 2 years, and I cannot praise Vista Social enough. It's the cheapest platform I've come across, and it's far superior to any other management tools I've tried. So go try it for yourself. My direct link is in the notes. All right, so at the beginning of 2023, I had 17 clients. My team and I managed 17 different businesses' social media channels. We were strategizing 17 entirely different businesses, managing 61 plus channels, including Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. Not to mention, we also provided website services, SEO, email marketing, and consulting. It was a lot, but it was fine because I had a team helping me edit the content, calendar planning, and so on. But it's still my business, so I'm the point person for each client. And in most cases, I was the one getting all the content, approving all the posts, scheduling, and analyzing all of our work. I felt like I was on top. In April, I opened up an office at the Pemberton, who's one of my clients, and was finally able to have a creative space to work out of and collaborate. I was able to give a raise to my number one right hand, Lauren, and offer full-time work for her. Every single client we acquired was through word of mouth, and everyone was saying that I am the go-to for social media, and that the social media manager is the best in town. There were some hiccups, of course. I hired a few people that really let me down, and I learned a lot from that. I was looking to expand, but I learned quickly that less amazing employees is way better than a bunch of shitty ones. I wanted to expand because I love managing people. I love being a leader that people can look to, confide in, and trust. I wanted to be the best employer so that I could not only help grow my business, but also to become a super desirable place to work. Around the same time I opened my office, I was also approached by a friend, mentor of mine, and he possibly wanted to invest in my company. I couldn't believe it. I always thought about the social media manager being a company I could sell one day, but to have someone invest in me in such an early stage of the business got me really excited. We went to several lunches and talked about what it would look like and how I should devise a business plan. The business plan would need to include numbers. I'm a creative, so numbers scare the shit out of me. I started looking at what the company made in 2022 and then projected numbers in 2023, and it was pretty cool to see how much it grew in just a few months. With trying to figure out how to value my company, I started doing a little research, and it was saying I need to project how much I'll make in 5 years, and honestly, how could I even calculate that? So I asked him in an email if he could help me with the valuation part. And then I just wrote down a bunch of numbers, what I wanted to make per year, that I wanted to offer benefits to my employees, some startup costs I would need to really grow the thing, like hiring more people and a few gadgets. It started adding up really quickly, and it scared me. But I sent over the email and I basically never heard from him again, at least regarding the investment part. So that hiccup was interesting because I got all excited about something and then watched it kind of burn in my face because I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to finances or pretty much anything money wise. His lack of response was a little disappointing. While we were devising a plan, I got all excited about the big things that I was going to do. I would have the best clients in Phoenix and beyond. I would hire the best social media managers. I was going to offer the best employee benefits. I was going to finally be able to pay down my debt and travel all over and write everything off. And I was going to be a household name in the marketing world. This was all really exciting to me. So much so that I think I got too distracted instead of just continuing on my path, which was already working out so well. I decided to do a little meditating about it. And I realized that, I'm a badass female business owner and I don't need an investor. It's not like the business was struggling or needed money. So why would I give a portion of my business away to someone at such an early stage of this thing? I was getting clients left and right and did it all without marketing or money or anything. So that was put to rest, and I decided to keep pushing. While I was getting clients left and right, as I mentioned, I also was not getting clients. I had a ton of referrals and took meetings with people where I was sure they would choose the social media manager to do their social. But there were a ton that said no and went with someone else. Every time I got a rejection, I was so disheartened and it would really affect me. I started thinking about how I could compete more. Like, should I change my prices or change how I conduct myself? It's like my wins weren't good enough and I let my losses take control. That was a huge mistake because I already had such a great business model, such great clients, and everything was running really smooth. I was thinking, more clients doesn't mean I'm more successful. Success has to be about my happiness. And so that's when things started to change. In the summer of 2023, my happiness was on the low, to say the least, in my personal life. I was dating someone who wanted to be famous and took advantage of the fact that I knew how to market him. All for free, of course. Luckily, I never fell in love with that guy. And when I finally broke things off in August, I felt a sense of freedom. But I still had some unhappy things going on in my business. I had two clients I basically couldn't stand. Now, when you have to meet with clients, especially weekly, you got to make sure you vibe well, for lack of a better term. It was around this same time I felt confident enough in my business to drop these clients. The moment that I decided to drop one of them was after a particularly shitty meeting where I felt like I was going to cry after. Creating social media content for them was really hard because I felt like they weren't showing up authentically, and they were just kind of all over the place. So they would ask, why aren't we growing? And it was kind of hard to be like, because this isn't very good. Because we're talking about your podcast, but we're also talking about your music and your personal life. And they had their hands in it too much instead of just letting me do my own thing. I tried really hard, actually, to help them grow. But the recipe of their attitudes, my lack of excitement, and too many cooks in the kitchen, it really just had to end. I wrote a letter saying that we were done, and it was the most relieving thing I've done with my business ever. Still. For my mental health, it needed to be done. So I was down to 16 clients. By the way, side note, I ended up referring a friend of mine to them and told him all the terrible stuff, just so he was aware. But he ended up taking the job and he's really killing it. So it really was a win-win all around for everybody. All right, so then I got word that one of my clients was going to be pausing for a while. This was a yoga and wellness online platform that was kind of more of a side hustle for this guy. He poured a lot of his own money into that business, but it was in a very competitive market and needed a lot of work to be where we all wanted it to be. So he decided to step away and continue his normal work and let this side hustle fizzle. So now I was down to 15 clients. What happened next completely rocked my world. In my personal life, I found my soulmate. It was perfect because I was finally at a place where I was like, I don't need a relationship. I just need to focus on my business and myself. And then boom, this incredible artist walks into my life, into my office, actually, because he was doing a collaboration with some of my buddies who were working in there too. We instantly fell in love, and I won't go into too much detail, but I'll just say that I found happiness I never knew existed. So my personal life was thriving like never before, but my business life was taking a dump right in my face. All of a sudden, clients started dropping like flies in late 2023 and early this year. The two restaurants I was managing social for at a hotel in Phoenix decided to lease out to someone else who already had a social media manager. So I lost two right away, right there without notice. And then a friend of mine who owned the best pizza joint in Phoenix decided to close down. He just had a baby, and the restaurant business is really hard to manage when your priority is your family. So I lost that account too. And that one obviously was a sad one for me just because I loved that place so much. Then I get a phone call from one of my very favorite clients, a local hats and tees fashion brand that was all centered around Arizona. And that call was super uncomfortable because I could tell he didn't want to drop me, but it was just something he had to do because it's an expense he could no longer budget for. Marketing is one of those weird things that people instinctively know how to do it, like they can do it themselves. But most people hire out for it because not everyone is great at it, right? But when you're close to breaking even, or if sales are down, it's just usually the first thing to go. This one was hard for me because I was so proud that they were my client and felt so good about what we did for them. But alas, another one bites the dust. The Pemberton, where my office had opened, decided they were going to close end of March. and become a new concept down the road after completely renovating the place, and who knows what else. It's still unknown what they're going to do with the place, but I truly hope it's not yet another apartment complex. This was my biggest client because the Pemberton was comprised of several small businesses, food trucks, retailers, cocktail trailers. It was really a special place. I always loved it because everyone was collaborating, sort of like this beautiful little compound of art and creative people all working together to succeed together. So not only was I losing this client, I was losing my office and everything I built there in the last year. When I got word that Pemberton was closing, I got a request from another client to meet in person. Man, it just felt like one after the other. I had that gut feeling. No way is this going to happen to me again, not now. But yet again, one of my clients, it's kind of a yoga and athleisure wear company, decided to drop us just because they needed to pay rent in a multi-brand boutique in New York City, which I'm sure you can imagine costs a lot of money. I really didn't see that one coming. I'd become pretty close with this client, so I kind of just thought it was all good and in the bag, but nothing in business is permanent. Nothing. So I had to make some really tough calls that I couldn't believe I had to make. My number one right-hand woman who was working 40 hours a week for me, I had to drastically cut her hours. I'm currently keeping an eye on jobs she's qualified for because I feel like such an asshole for doing this. Of course, it's out of my control, but it's still the absolute worst feeling in the world having to tell her that I had to cut her hours. And meanwhile, it's nearly impossible for her to find work. There's a ton of social media jobs available, but the competition is fierce. A lot of people manage social now, which is amazing, and that's what I've always wanted. But it does make it hard to find a job. Companies that are doing really well have the budget for a social media manager, but most businesses aren't doing really well. And it makes me think, is the economy as good as everyone says it is? President Biden recently released the jobs report, and it says his administration created 2.7 million new jobs in 2023. That sounds like a lot, right? But that also includes all the, new 16-year-olds who are starting to work and who knows what else. It also says the unemployment rate is under 4%, which sounds amazing, but that doesn't include everyone who doesn't have a quote unquote job, but they just hustle for money and they aren't claiming unemployment. I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but businesses all over Phoenix are closing down because sales are down, expenses are high, and it's not worth it to have a business that breaks even or loses money. Restaurants have to pay a ridiculous price now for food, just like we do. I go into the grocery store and I'm flabbergasted that I can't leave the place without spending at least $100. And it's never for that much stuff. I go to the grocery store 2 to 3 times a week, so it's pretty insane. So what do we do with this information? Apparently the economy is thriving, but most things I'm seeing says otherwise. There's some exceptions, obviously. I'll shout out my good friends Rachel and Kale of Electric Bat Arcade, who are killing it in business, on social, and even now on their own podcast. You're going to have to check that one out, by the way. It's called the Electric Batcast. I'll share the link in my show notes. So Electric Bat Arcade, are they doing so well because of nostalgia? Because people aren't drinking much anymore and prefer entertainment before bars? I'd say it's a mixture of these things for sure, but they also are balls deep into their business. And what I mean by that is that they show up every day and they're fixing pinball machines and devising how they can expand and posting consistently to social and interacting with folks who are all over the country, utilizing several social platforms to reach a maximum audience, and they are deeply in love with their business. Like they care a ridiculous amount about every single person who walks into Electric Bat Arcade. They have created an incredible community that is sustainable, and none of us will ever let that place fail. Not that it could. Social media has a lot to do with their popularity all over the country and the world. But what makes that business fucking thrive is Rachel and Kale being Rachel and Kale. Their story, their passion for pinball, it's incredible. I'm obsessed. I've been going to their pinball tournaments for about a year and a half now, and even though I've never won or come close to it, I love the tournaments and everyone who goes. My boyfriend even loves it. He's been playing pinball since he was a kid, and he's actually really good, unlike me. And so I was pretty stoked I got to show him this tournament, and now we go every single week. We're lifers, and so are hundreds of others. That's the kind of businesses who survive and thrive during a financially scary time. So what does this mean for social media managers? Well, the times are changing. There's a lot more competition because, as we know, this was a really new career in the last several years. But since so many people know social media, they decided to make it their career, which I think is awesome. And if you're good at it, then fuck yeah. So now that there's more competition, there's less opportunities and more of a chance that you'll really have to work for getting a job or getting clients. But this is okay. Like I mentioned, I lost a ton of clients this year, and it really fucked me up. But then after talking to my boyfriend and my family and doing some inner work, I realized I still have more clients than when I left my 9-to-5 job, which means I'm still making more money than that terrible corporate environment. It might not be forever, but I must be grateful for what I have today. I already kind of feel a sense of relief, honestly. I'm able to go every Tuesday to pinball tournament night at Electric Bat Arcade. And not only can I go every week, I can go early and I can warm up. And I'm podcasting again. This was my favorite part of my job. I had to put it to the side when I had so many clients. And I don't have to work so many dumb hours now. Some weeks are tougher than others, but let's be real. I wake up a little late so I can actually get a full 8 hours of sleep. I'm kind of a night owl. I make coffee. I let the day set in. You know, I love my mornings and taking my time, and then I get to work. Some days I'll take an hour and a half walk after waking up, or go for a run, or do errands, or sit by the pool, or do whatever the fuck I want, because that's why I left corporate life. So this life is really good. While it was exciting to have a really cool office and work with incredible people and have this amazing roster of clients, business isn't forever. I can't rely on small businesses to pay me forever. I have to go back to my roots. I have to stop blaming the economy. I have to count my lucky stars. And then I just have to do what it takes to live, right? So this life is pretty good right now. So I think I'll do just fine for now. Okay, so here's the plan. If you're feeling stuck in this economy or have faced similar things that I have, I'd love to hear from you. You know what? If you're thriving in this economy, I want to hear from you too, so I can learn from your magic. We got this, y'all. We just have to wake up another day. Thanks, crew. I'll see you again soon on the Social Media Manager podcast.